Hey guys, it's Tara the Flippin' Hippo. Thank you for joining us on our YouTube channel at Flippin' Hippos. Today I want to talk about a subject that honestly needs to be addressed. And today's video might come across as a little bit of tough love, but I think that this is something a lot of you need to hear. And it's been a long time coming. But more recently, I have seen an influx within all of the different reselling groups on Facebook and Instagram and messages that I get of folks who are getting impatient because stuff isn't selling quick enough for them. And I think it's because a lot of resellers, especially new ones, have an unrealistic expectation of how this is going to go. And I'm not here to belittle anyone or judge anyone. I'm here to give you better information for you to move forward and have a more realistic goal of where your reselling business is going to go. I think that if you come into this thinking that you're going to list a couple of items and they're going to sell right away, you're not going to last. You have to have a realistic expectation. You have to know that things don't happen overnight. And I think that I don't know where people get these ideas from. I'm not going to point any fingers, but there are a lot of new resellers that come into this thinking that they're going to list a couple of items on eBay and overnight everything is going to sell and you're going to be rich and you're going to be able to quit your job. And that's just not how it works. And things do not sell that fast. And I think this may be the underlying root cause for two things. One, the reason a lot of new resellers don't last. And number two, that race to the bottom because people get impatient and start lowering their prices. Like I said, I don't know where people are getting this idea from, but that's not how it works. You don't just list a couple of items on eBay and they sell. And I keep seeing over and over and over again, like I said, in the groups and getting messages from people who say, well, I listed X, Y, and Z and it's just sitting and sitting and sitting and it won't sell and it's just not selling. And then I ask them, well, how long have you had it listed for? A couple of weeks, a month. Are you serious? Some things don't sell that quickly. You guys need to realize that. And if I'm coming across a little bit aggravated, it's because I am aggravated, not at you, but at the situation that has been created, that people believe this farce, that things are going to sell that fast, that you're not going to have to put a lot of work in, that you just simply have to list it and it's going to sell. And that's not how it is. Again, this is tough love. I want you guys to be successful. I want you guys to build a reselling business that is going to meet all of your expectations and your needs, whether you're building this as a hobby to have fun money for vacation, whether you want this as a side gig and a part-time job to maybe pay off some debt or have some extra money in your household, or if you're building this up to be a full-time business to replace your income and be able to fire your boss, quit your job, and do this full-time. Whatever your goals are, I want you guys to reach that. I want you guys to be successful. I want you guys to go into this knowing what you're getting into, knowing what to do to get to where you need to be. And having unrealistic expectations is not going to do it, because you're going to rush into things too quickly and maybe have to quit, or you're going to get frustrated when your Winnie the Pooh, who is one of 1,000 Winnie the Poohs on eBay, doesn't sell within 2 weeks, so you lower the price. And then that causes that whole problem of racing to the bottom. Everybody starts lowering their prices and they ruin the market for items and things tank. And I've seen that happen so many times since I've been in this game. I can give you examples of brand names of jeans and certain characters in plush that when I first started would sell for a lot more than what they're selling for now, and that's because of the race to the bottom. And I really believe a lot of the race to the bottom is impatience. Yes, there are folks who like the fast nickel, and that's fine. You guys have probably heard of the slow dime or the fast nickel. The slow dime is listing items you know are going to take a while to sell at a higher price and being willing and patient to sit on that item until it sells for more money. And then the fast nickel folks will list items that either will flip faster for them or items that typically take a little bit longer, but they'll price it just below everyone else to sell it faster. And that's I mean, I can understand that, and I think the fast nickel approach is okay, but when you get everybody vying for that spot and everybody competing to be the fast nickel, that's when the race to the bottom really starts to happen. So that is a problem, but I also think it's because people get impatient when things don't sell as quickly as they think they should. So if you comp your, let's just use Lucky Brand jeans for instance. Those sell for about $20 to $25, and someone that likes the slow dime, someone like me, would list them at $25 and sit on them and be patient. Someone that wants the fast nickel may list them for $20 or $22 and flip them faster than me and get their fast nickel. And that's fine. Fast nickel is a viable way to run your business. It's perfectly acceptable. It's not for me. I'm all about the higher prices and being patient and waiting to get more money. So it's not for me, but I don't disagree with it. I can absolutely understand why people would like the fast nickel and why they would run their business on the basis of getting the fast nickel. The problem is when everybody wants that fast nickel and they don't really understand keeping the value of an item on the market. So then people start listing those Lucky Brand jeans for $19, $18, $17, $16, $15, $14, and then it's not even worth sourcing anymore, because even if you're getting them for 99 cents, let's say you sell them for $15, less PayPal and eBay fees, which averages out to about 15%, you're looking at $2.25. So now you're down to $13.75. You paid $1. Now you're down to $12.75. It costs about $7, maybe $8 once the rates go up. We'll average it at $8 for a padded flat envelope. So you just made $4. Now, if you spend $1 and you turned it into $4, hey, you more than doubled your investment. So there may be people willing to sell those Lucky Brand jeans for $15, and that's where the race to the bottom happens. You've got these jeans that Lucky Brand used to sell for $35, you guys. When I first started selling them, I used to list them at $35 and get it all day long, or take best offers for $30. But now you got people, who find them for 99 cents or at the bins by weight, and they get them for $1, $1.50, and they're willing to sell them at $15. So everybody over here that's got them listed at $25 is never going to sell. That's why the race to the bottom is a problem. If you want your fast nickel, that's fine, but you kind of have to hold on to the value of something in the marketplace. And when everybody starts undercutting everybody else, there you go. That's the race to the bottom. But I don't think it's just the folks that want to sell things fast for that fast nickel. I think a lot of people misunderstand how long things take to sell on eBay. They misunderstand if an item is in a saturated market, how long it's going to take. They misunderstand that certain things are long tail and they just take a while to sell. They misunderstand that some things you're waiting for that handful of people who want to buy that. And then they get impatient, and then they just start lowering their prices and tanking the market because they're desperate to make a sale. If you have, let's say you have, remember my snake? Most of you remember that snake. The snake from Jungle Book. I had a giant snake from Jungle Book who was electronic, his tongue moved and he hissed, and he was from Walt Disney Parks. When I comped him, he was worth about $50 or $60 with shipping, and that's what I listed him at. And I waited 3 months to sell him. It wasn't because he wasn't going to sell or he wasn't taking long, or he wasn't selling fast enough. I had to wait for the one person in the whole world that A, loves Jungle Book, B, loves the snake from Jungle Book, and C, would be willing to part with $50 for a snake plush. There are not a lot of people in this world who are going to fall under all that criteria. Not everyone's a Jungle Book fan, not everyone likes the snake from the movie, and not everyone is willing to spend $50 on a plush. That plush was definitely worth $50. That was his value. But I had to wait for the right collector to come along, or the right person who was willing to pay that amount of money. I knew that going into it, and so I sat on him for 3 months and waited. Now, if you have the wrong mindset, or the unrealistic expectations that I mentioned, you're going to list that snake at $50, and he's going to sit for a month, and then you're going to get disappointed and wonder why he didn't sell, and maybe you lower him by half just to try to get rid of him. Well, now you've sold him for $25. You could have made more, and you've lowered his market value because the next person that comes along that finds that snake and looks through the solds for comps thinks he's worth $25 when he's worth a lot more. Yes, if you lower your prices, you will sell faster, but you have to understand the realistic timeline for things to sell. You guys know that every month, everything that doesn't sell for us goes to the unsolds, and we relist them at 5% off. That's a realistic lowering of your prices to try to get things to move faster. But keep in mind that number one, we list really high to begin with. So if I comp something and it's selling for $20 to $28, give or take, I'm listing at $28. That's where I'm starting. And every time it doesn't sell, I come down 5% until it sells. I'm not just immediately dropping my prices drastically, and I understand that things are going to sit. We also only do that lowering of 5% on clothing and only on saturated items or brands. So you guys may remember that very unique Robert Graham shirt we had. It sold within a couple of weeks, but that was more realistic for that item. It was new with tags, it was unique, it had really great graphics, and it was one of a kind. There were no other Robert Graham shirts like that on eBay at the time, and there were only like 3 or 4 Robert Grahams new with tags. So, of course, it sold pretty fast because it wasn't saturated. But, for instance, if it hadn't gone in the first month, we still knew that it was unique. It was one of very few new with tags Robert Grahams on the market. So we would relist it at the full price we were asking to begin with. That would have been an item we would not have lowered by 5%. All of our hard goods, all of my plush, that just gets relisted at the price I originally wanted for it. There are certain items we do not lower by 5% when we relist it because certain items are definitely 100% worth the price that we comped it at. We know what its market value is, and we're not going to start lowering the price just to try to get a sale because we understand that those are items you're waiting for the right person to come along. Not everyone wants to spend $150 on a Robert Graham shirt. You got to wait for the person that wants to spend $150 on a shirt. And sometimes that may take longer than a month. Lowering the price is just going to sell it faster, but you're not making as much money as you could. So I guess you have to find patience. There is the fast nickel, and that is a viable way to run your business. But the desperation to keep lowering prices to make sales and that expectation of selling things fast, that's got to end, you guys. You can't say, oh, my item sat forever and ever and it never sold because it sat for 2 weeks. Well, what is your item? Are there hundreds of those on eBay? Is it a saturated market? Is it clothing? Is it a tie? Because ties are really long tail. So you kind of have to get a realistic grasp on how long things take to sell. Most clothing, honestly, guys, if it's really good, if it's a designer brand, new with tags, very unique, not saturated, it's still going to take a month plus to sell. And that all depends on how you price it. And then oversaturated clothing can take up to 9 months to sell. So if you don't have the patience to sit on something for a while for it to sell, then you need to change your mindset when you're sourcing. You need to take the time to do the research and find out what brands are oversaturated, what brands aren't good to pick up if you can't sit on them for a while. And that is why we like the volume-based business, because we have a nice mix. We have stuff that flips fast, stuff that flips medium time, and stuff that's really slow and takes a while. But with 1,900-ish listings, we're still making sales every day, and all of that stuff sells. Like eventually when you build up your amount of listings, you're going to start selling that really slow stuff along with everything else, and you have a nice mix, and it works out. But you guys, I need people to understand that things don't sell that fast, because I see it all the time, and I see people get disappointed, and I see people get upset, and I see people think that they can't do this, and that's not the case. You don't need to be disappointed. You don't need to be upset. You don't need to think you failed or that you can't do reselling. You just need to rethink how you're thinking things. You need to reevaluate your expectations. It's not that you're a failure. It's that you went into this thinking that your Ralph Lauren polo was going to sell within a week. It's not. And your plushies, they're not going to sell within a month usually. To be quite frankly honest with you guys, with a few very rare exceptions, most of my plush takes a month or 2 or longer to flip. And I'm just patient about it. If you want things to sell really fast, if you want those fast flips, Again, you need to do the research and find out what you should be sourcing. Electronics flip fast. Phones flip fast. There are certain hard goods that will go really quickly. But if you're going to continue to source the long tail items and put them in your store, you can't be disappointed when they don't sell quickly. And don't think you're a failure. You're not a failure. You just have the wrong expectations. You have the wrong mentality going into this. You really need to understand that things take a while to sell. If something sits for a couple of weeks or a month and it's a typical long tail item or it's an item that's oversaturated, that's fine. You didn't do anything wrong, and you don't need to stress and fret and worry about why your item didn't sell. When you build a reselling business, it's not like you're going to go on eBay and list a couple of items and they're all going to sell within a couple of days. That's just not how it works. You have to build up your number of listings. You have to have good keywords in your titles. You have to run sales and do other things to get your stuff seen. Maybe you need to do promoted listings. Maybe you need to try free shipping or free returns. There's a lot of ways you can utilize the tools that eBay gives you to make your items show up higher in the search engines and possibly sell faster without taking the prices or lowering the prices. But at the end of the day, you still got to realize that some stuff, it's just simply long tail. No matter what you do, it's going to sit for a while before it sells. Most clothing is going to take longer than 2 months, with some exceptions. Most plush going to take longer than 2 months, with some exceptions. And I can tell you that not very many of my plush are those exceptions. So you just have to have the right expectations. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Building a reselling business doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to just make thousands of dollars immediately and quit your job. You have to work at it. Number one, you have to do the research to know that you're sourcing the right items to fit what you want to do. Not to fit your expectations, but to fit what you want to do. And you need to fix your expectations so they're more realistic. And you need to put the work in. You have to list every day. You have to have items for people to purchase. And you have to have the patience and the fortitude to sit on those long tail items and wait for them to sell. But if you continue to list every day and you build up your eBay business and you create more listings every single day and you raise that number of total active listings up, you will sell more. And then you can start seeing sales every day. But you're still going to have long tail items. They're going to take their time to flip, but the more items you have, and with time as you build up, you will start to see that you're making sales every single day. But it does take patience, it takes fortitude, it takes a lot of hard work. This is not easy, you guys. You don't just go to the thrift store, buy 5 items, put them in your store, become a millionaire and quit your job. That is not how it works. You have to work at it. It is hard work. It's not easy. It's not a get rich quick scheme. You have to work at it. And you need to have patience. And your items, unfortunately, they're not going to flip overnight. And I do want to add that, especially if you have like 50 items in your eBay store, you guys aren't going to be seeing daily sales. Unless you have all 50 of those items are electronics or something that does flip really fast, then those items would be selling every day, and that would be a realistic expectation for you. But if you have 50 items in your store that are all clothing or plush or other items that are known to be long tail, you're not going to see sales every day. You only have 50 items. You need to list more. You need to source faster flipping items if that's what you need. And, don't sell yourself short. I know everybody wants that fast nickel, but don't sell yourself short. List stuff at the price it's worth. Get a little bit more money. Make a little bit more profit. You're worth it. Your items are worth it. If the market shows that it sold at a certain price, clearly that's the market value. Why list lower to sell faster when you can make more money? That's just my opinion. I'm not telling, if you guys want to have fast nickels, go for it. But I would rather make more profit. I really feel that the work Keith and I put into this business and our items are worth more than that. But that's up to you. I can't tell you how to run your business, but I can tell you guys to be patient You need to be patient. You need to have realistic expectations. And a reselling business doesn't happen overnight. It takes months, years to build up. You eventually have a lot of feedback in your store and tons of items, and you'll be making sales every day, but that just doesn't happen without you guys putting in the work. And if you want to sell items more quickly, you need to do the research on what items sell quickly. If you want to build a used clothing business, you're gonna have to face the facts that it's all long tail, and you're probably looking at doing volume. So I just wanted to address this today. I've seen a lot more lately than usual comments about folks saying, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, my stuff won't sell, it sits and sits and sits and sits, and then you inquire as to how long that is, and it's only a couple weeks or a month. And that's just not realistic. And like I said, this has been something I've seen, since we started in the reselling business. But for some reason, there's a bigger influx right now of those comments. And I don't know if it's because more and more people are starting to resell. We have more new people in the business that just have those unrealistic expectations. Or maybe more people are voicing it. Maybe there's more Facebook groups. I don't know what it is. But there's this huge influx right now of people saying that they can't get their items to move. And they're expecting them to move overnight or within a couple of weeks. Doesn't happen, guys. A lot of stuff is saturated. A lot of stuff is long tail. And again, with unique items and plush and stuff like that, collectible items, you're waiting for the one person or handful of people that's willing to pay $50 for a toy, basically. And you just gotta wait. They'll find you. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions. If you would do me a favor and smash that like button before you leave, I'd appreciate it, guys. If you haven't already and you'd like to, please subscribe to our channel and help us feed a hungry hippo. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time, you guys have a good night.